Do you know Jared Diamond and his book Guns, Germs, and Steel?
Yes, I do. I read that book.
That's something that it reminded me of, or I came to think about it when you were talking about
Yeah.
modern humans in Europe.
Mm.
Could you maybe, I think you can do it better than me, explain a little bit what the book is about?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I read it, but basically it tries to explain this idea of why it was that certain human populations were able to have the advantage of things like guns and steel, and why it was that other populations, other groups, didn't have those things and suffered greatly when Europeans arrived into, for example, the New World. They brought with them germs that those people didn't have any resistance to, and so they succumbed in huge numbers. And Jared Diamond's got a very environmentally deterministic way of explaining this. He thinks um, that there were inherent advantages that were bestowed upon certain populations. So, for example, one thing that he says is that if you look at all of the domesticated crops in the world and the wild predecessors of those crops, most of them come from the fertile zones and the Mediterranean zones, the Near East, and so on. And so populations there had a sort of an inbuilt advantage over getting access to those crops, which then allowed them to gain in population, gain in number, and gain in complexity in terms of social organization. Whereas other human populations, for example, in places like I don't know, Australasia and South America, didn't have access to the same innate advantages, and therefore they didn't have the ability to get to steal like they did. So it's an interesting thesis, and it's worth pointing out that there's been a lot of pushback from archaeologists and anthropologists who view a lot of the what Jared Diamond proposed as rather simplistic in many respects and environmentally deterministic, and there may well have been other factors that were involved in these types of sort of origins of inequality. So yeah, that's what I would say.
One other thing I took
Yeah.
from the book that I found interesting was
Mm,
that he talked about how in Europe or Eurasia,
mm,
people were. It was easier to spread information and new technologies because there were less
yeah.
differences, because there were less climate zones, so meaning
Yes.
ecological differences. Um,
Yes.
in total, how do you think his theories or his ideas
Yeah.
work together with yours?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a very good point, and that's one thing I did like